This video is brought to you by Robinhood, the investment brokerage app that lets you buy stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies, all commission free. The gains have just gotten ridiculous at this point. Even I think that this is crazy. Chinese coffee stock up 45%. Yeah, I guess I'll take those gains. Look, click the link in the description below to download Robinhood and get your absolutely free stock and start cashing in on these gains because apparently the stock market is on rookie mode right now. What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Is your body ready? Because after almost 20 years, it might finally be happening. Do we have a crazy situation where the Egyptian gods might actually be making it to competitive status? If it was going to happen, I'm going to guess that 2020, we all know how ridiculously absurd and crazy and upside down that this year has been. This would be that time. So what you guys are looking at is an Egyptian god card build that actually got second place at an OCG tournament. Now, full disclosure, not only do I not have access to the side deck, I do not know how many participants this was. I'm gonna assume that there were more than just 2 people at this tournament, and as long as there were more than 3 participants, I'm gonna consider myself impressed. I mean, let's be real, he's playing the freaking god cards in 2020, and we know that we waited so long for these things to be released in the TCG. I want to say they didn't come out until somewhere around like the 5Ds era. At least that's when I remember Obelisk coming out. And then when we did get the god cards, they were heavily nerfed from their anime counterparts. But we do know that they have gotten a lot more support. Well, we'll be getting the support soon in the TCG coming out of the next legendary Duelist of Gloom. And it looks like somebody put them damn cards to work immediately. These cards just came out in the OCG and already having just a teeny tiny bit of success. So we're going to break the deck down, talk about some of the things that were played and why maybe this deck is having a little bit of success. Even again, we got to temper our expectations because it is just on probably a local level at this point. Anyways, for starters, I found it very interesting that it wasn't just Ra getting in on the action, because when you look at all the new support for Merrick, basically it's all tailored around his specific god card. It's all about making Ra the biggest and baddest of the Egyptian god cards and giving him that true power of a god and making sure that he can one-shot and all that stuff. So you really wouldn't imagine that your opponent would use something like Slifer or Obelisk the Tormentor. However, number one, you do benefit from things like Mound of the Bound Creator, and if you guys have ever played Sacred Beast, you know that this is another alternative strong field spell. They have Fallen Paradise, but this one is good as well because it gives all your god cards and all the Sacred Beast monsters targeting protection from your opponent. This means that cards like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler that would wreck things like Ra and would wreck, Slifer the Sky Dragon, make their attack 0, and they're really not a threat with 0 attack. It basically stops those, and Effect Veiler has become incredibly popular. I mean, Obelisk, he's a giant beat stick no matter what, but there could be situations where you want to actually use his effect. Some of the other engines, because I'm not going to try to sell you guys and say this is a 100% pure build of the gods. There are some smaller engines in here. However, I think that they're negligible to the success of this deck. I don't think that they were the main reason that this deck had success. I think that he probably snuck up on a lot of people who probably didn't know how to deal with this deck and weren't ready for the one-shots, especially with Blaze Cannon. But you look at the 2 small engines in here, at least the 2 ones that I see. First off, you're seeing Psy Reflector, and this is something that's gaining popularity in the OCG, and I think that it's one of the better one-card Halifibrax plays. So you guys know that Halifibrax is taken over the TCG and how strong it is. Still very strong in the OCG, even at limited status with Link Cross and all that good stuff. This is another one card, play that goes into Halifibrax. The difference here with the Psy Frame or with the Psy Reflector engine is you also get access to level 8 Synchro. So you summon your Psy Reflector. Then you can add your Assault Beast from your deck to your hand. You discard Assault Beast, getting yourself Assault Mode activate. Then you can Monster Reborn the Assault Beast with the Psy Reflector. At that point, you have a tuner and a non-tuner on field, which obviously goes into this guy. But at the same time, you have potentially 7 stars. You can actually go for, you have 8 stars on field because you can increase the Assault Beast's level. You can actually go for, level 7 Synchros if you just want to nuke the field with a Black Rose Dragon or something like that. So it's a very powerful play because you get to go different routes depending on what the situation requires. If you feel like your opponent has something like Nibiru or has some way of capitalizing on your monster or kaiju, you might just want to Omega them, take cards out of their hand, and just kind of leave it at that. The other engine, of course, is the Red Eyes Dart Dragoon engine. I don't really need to explain this one that much. We know that it's going to probably be really prominent in the TCG when it gets here. You see so many decks just commit these 3 cards, and I guess also Predaplant Anaconda or Verde Anaconda, but we know that as long as you don't draw either one of these original DM cards, you're basically in a good position. Even if you do hard draw Red Eyes Fusion, it's a 1-card Dart Dragoon, which is obviously very powerful. Now, another thing that I found interesting was multiple copies of Millennium Revelation. And just to refresh your memory, Millennium Revelation is the card that searches Monster Reborn right from your deck. Now, this does require you to discard a Divine Beast monster, and maybe that's the reason why it wasn't just Ron here, because if you open with Slifer or Obelisk and you can't get them on board, those can be very good discards. You can just go ahead and discard those. You then get to basically get Monster Reborn straight from your deck, and you can also give the card up to Monster Reborn or Ra from your graveyard, even though you technically shouldn't be able to. It basically lets you cheat around that. We also see another reason to run some of the other God cards in this build is the fact that Ancient Chant doesn't just work with Ra. Even though its second effect, where it would give Ra additional attack, that specifically works with that God card. However, you can use this to just summon, Obelisk. You can use it to summon Slifer. The biggest problem with the Egyptian God card deck, and the reason why it never worked in my opinion, was the fact that you had cards like Ra's Disciple, which it was cool, right? Okay, normal summon Ra's Disciple, get 2 more Ra's Disciple. Okay, what am I supposed to do now? I can't summon the God card, you know what I mean? I only have 1 normal summon, but the Ancient Chant gives you the additional normal summon, and even if you're locked into Divine Beast monsters, who cares, because all the God cards are all, they're all divine attributes, so it really doesn't matter, and you can use all of these with Ancient Chant as well. Now, we knew that Blaze Cannon was going to see play because when you summon Ra and you have the one-shot potential, whether that one-shot potential is coming from Ra's effect, where you're paying a bunch of light points to just get his attack through the roof, or you're using Ancient Chant and you're gaining attack from there, or even if you summon a Ra into like a field that has skill drain, because keep in mind skill drain's at 3 in the OCG and there are other effect negations. Even if your Ra doesn't have the effect, you can use something like One with the Sun God, which basically is a trap form of Ra's effect, and you can set this card and activate it in the same turn as long as you control Ra. Any way that you get your Ra's attack up through the moon or to the moon, you're basically looking to use Blaze Cannon to just make sure that your one-shot potential does go through. Now, there are some slight differences between the TCG builds of this and the OCG builds. If people do want to try to play this in the TCG, we'll have to make slight adjustments because of the FNL list. I don't think anything crazy, and mainly it has to do with cards like Emergency Teleports and 1-for-1. These are cards, of course, you would use in the TCG as well. However, we only have 1 copy of both of these cards in the TCG, which is kind of unfortunate. In the OCG, they can run doubles, which means they're a lot more consistent. Emergency Teleport summons your Side Reflector from your deck, so basically it's just kind of like another 1-card Halifibrax or 1-card Synchro summon that you might want to go for, or you can actually go for 1-for-1, which does the same thing. It summons Side Reflector. In addition to that, it summons this nice little girl right here that I haven't talked about, Crystal Girl. So Crystal Girl is one of those cards where you look at it and you're like, well, what the heck is this going to be used for? How exactly does this work? Crystal Girl can be normal summoned, or you can just special summon it from like 1-for-1. Crystal Girl, she's kind of slow, but she works well on this deck, right? Because during the end phase, she can add a level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand, and that card is going to be Guardian Slime. It's perfectly fine searching Guardian Slime during the end phase because we know that Guardian Slime kind of works like a hand trap. It summons itself like Trigodia or Gores. Anytime you take damage, you just throw it on field. If your opponent tries to run it over, it's probably not going to work because its defense becomes equivalent to that monster's attack, or you can just have them, both die. And then when this card leaves the field, it searches for any of your Ra support cards. So basically, you normal summon her, she becomes a +1, you search search for this, special summon this guy. If he lives, great. If he doesn't live, that's perfectly fine as well, because he just kind of floats. And in addition to that, you can also, since she's level 1, you can use her for Link Karibo. And another cool thing is, if Guardian Slime does live, you get to special summon her back from the graveyard for free, and that means you have 2 monsters. You can go for things like Verde Anaconda for the Red Eyes plays, and you still get the search of Guardian Slime. And Guardian Slime, if your opponent doesn't kill it, instead of going for the Verde Anaconda, you can use that for the Egyptian God Slime. And this deck actually really does kind of double down on that. I mean, you're not seeing 1 or 2 copies in this build, you're seeing 3 copies of this. This means that, you know, Guardian Slime can summon it. You can also go for the Metal Reflect Slime, which you can tutor that with the Reactor Slime. So this is definitely an option for beating the crap out of your opponent. And all of these cards, Guardian Slime, the Egyptian Gods, you know, the God Slime, they all get powered up, or they all get protection, I should say, from Mound of the Bound Crater. Your opponent can't target any of them. So it's a really interesting build. And the only thing that I kind of question is, I feel like maybe there should be more copies of Spear Mode, because you guys know when you go second with this deck, and you don't want to go first with this deck. This deck is all about doing massive amounts of damage with the God cards, the Egyptian God Slime, and one-shotting your opponent with, you know, obviously Ra. So you want to go second, and usually what you do is, instead of playing hand traps and a bunch of breakboard cards, you play Winged Dragon of Ra Spear Mode, which is of course one of the best breakboard cards in the entire game. But if your opponent gives you the Spear Mode back, unlike other decks, you're already running Immortal Phoenix, so you can actually do derp stuff with the Spear Mode when you actually get it back. And he is also a level 10 monster, so they can't target it if you have this guy on field. Really interesting stuff. That would be my only critique, is I'd like to see more copies of Spear Mode against the combo decks. But then again, I don't know how strong combo is. Combo's been kind of flailing in the OCG since the Numeron stuff comes out. Not a lot of people running combo. They're more tailored towards like control and stuff like that. But whatever you guys think, you leave that in the comment section below. Man, only in 2020 could we see people actually trying to take the gods competitive. Could we see maybe regional top 8 level in the TCG? It's possible. It's definitely possible. The link to this deck, of course, will be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.